All right, welcome to the equities review. I just want to talk about just a few pairs in the equities. So Dixie, SPX, Nasdaq, gold and silver, and then maybe I'll look at copper as well. Um, and then I'll give you one tip that I've got. Okay, so let's start with the Dixie. Okay, so this Dixie on the weekly got a big sell-off, and this big sell-off was a positive for gold and silver, right? So if you look at this here, 19th, and we're going to quickly look at what you had on silver, and sorry, gold, and look at what you had on silver, right? So there is a definite correlation between the Dixie sell-off and the other pairs. Um, so with this sell-off, what do we make of this sell-off? So I mean, Dixie's done some decent touches here on the weekly chart. So I think that, obviously at the moment we are all below the moving averages. This is a big strong close below the moving averages, but the RSIs are staying quite high, 41 on the slow and 35 on the fast RSI. So if we bring it to the daily chart, you can see here as well, it's pretty big sell-off here. If you go to 4 hours, there is a bit of a bounce, I think, that's going to come on this. So you can see that we are oversold quite a bit. We are really oversold on the 4 hour chart. Sold here, sold there, and this candle has got a lot of liquidity sitting around it, so market makers would likely take some. We're also going to have a dead cross, and with dead crosses incoming, you can expect us to rally into the dead cross. So, there's some interest candles here as well, which are magnets for price to come back to. So, including this one. So, I think that we'll probably end up going down a little bit. Maybe even you might even get a gap up. You could even get a gap up where you gaps back up straight away. I won't be surprised to see that. So, I'd expect even if we go down slightly, and then come all the way back up and come and recover at the very least these two here into the 21, and then continue maybe retest and then come down a little bit and try to retest this 200 SMA. And maybe poke above it and get rejected and continue maybe the leg to the downside. Or it could be that it breaks through it. So that's what I'm seeing at the moment. I think there's a rally, a mini rally here on this 4 hour chart on the Dixie. So I would expect that come into next week, and I'll link this to gold and silver. You could also get a gap down on gold or silver, or gold goes slightly higher on this 4 hour chart and then pulls back down whilst the dollar rises back up. So that's kind of the premise really, because you do have some divergences also on this 4 hour chart. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that play out at all. So that's the premise we've got the dollar mini bounce on the dollar, back up to maybe initially to that point and then to here. So initially to 97.9 and then maybe to here, put it alert there. And then we've got silver and gold potential pullback whilst that happens. You could even get a gap down, like I said. So, I mean, but doesn't mean that the move on gold is finished, or we do have a gap here that needs to be closed, and I think it will be closed fairly quickly if we're supposed to continue going up. So, but this is a strong weekly chart because you're still above all the moving averages. All the moving averages are pointing upwards. The volumes are reasonable. The MACD is positive, although there's a slight divergence creeping up between this peak here and that peak there, and that may be the result of what gives you the snapback, and that snapback brings you back to the 9. Maybe it creates a divergence of the 9 and then goes back up again to try and take liquidity off the peak that we would have created here. before, even if you're going to collapse, you collapse. Otherwise, it continues going up. So that's gold. Silver is the same picture. You know, we would expect that, you know, on this 4-hour chart, you could get gap down into Sunday into Monday. You could go up slightly first and then collapse back down as the dollar also does its mini rally to the upside. So that's silver and gold. I mean, silver is not finished. So again, if you look at it, you know, there's a potential pullback back to the nine. If it gets back to the nine, it will go back up again. And if it fails at the top, that's when you get your signal to say it's a short. At the moment, it's not. So silver potentially um, will go either. I would say it will go higher first. So, you know, on the weekly chart, after the pullback, it will go higher first. And if it fails, that's when you start looking for your collapse signals because there are some divergences forming. There's some divergences forming on the RSI, but it's not proving itself yet. So it needs to prove itself before you do anything with it. So that's gold, that's silver, that's the Dixie. Now the Nasdaq. Let's have a look at the Nasdaq. Um, so the Nasdaq is we've got green. We had a green candle on the weekly chart, but the momentum is dying out. Kind of thing. The RSI is a rolled. We have a rolling RSI. Um, so this move is weak in itself. It's a weak move. Um, but it's you know there's volume. There's reasonable volume buying here, but it's the momentum is weak. If we bring it to the monthly chart, then it's a bit interesting because on the monthly chart, there's no divergence here on the monthly chart. So this move is not over yet on the on the Nasdaq. It's not over yet. We might get a pullback, maybe back to the nine and continue the journey to the upside. Um, and if we bring it to 4 hours, see what 4 hours is telling us. You can see here we are above the 50. So we might get a retest of it and then continue moving to the upside, I think. So the Nasdaq is gonna keep creeping up, creeping up, creeping up. The wall of worry, as some people say. The daily looks positive. We're above the 50, and until we break below the 50, it's all good. Here, we're kind of doing like sideways between this box here and all this box here, sideways. So until we break convincingly, um, you know, below the RSIs are looking positive, you know, for me. So I think we'll probably inch up, creep up, and there's an interest candle here that I'm following this candle. So I expect us to even if we're going to collapse, I expect us to come here and fail first before. That gives you a double top. So potentially more upside. There's more, definitely on the monthly chart, there's more upside. Even if there's a small pullback back to say 24, 24, 4, 24, 5, there's still a move on the Nasdaq back up. Then if we go to the SPX, so the XPX as well on the monthly chart, there is more, there is more. It will continue to creep up. It may come back down, back to the nine, but I expect more creeping up on this. It'll creep up a bit more. The move is getting weak, but on the weekly, you can see here we've come to the middle and got and the lower price is being rejected. My only concern is it's weak. It's a weak bounce because the RSIs didn't support that move. The MACDs haven't really turned to positive green. And then if we bring it here, you could get a retest. We would probably get a retest of this 50 first and maybe probably dip slightly below it. If the Dixie starts to go up, you can expect this will come down. So, and maybe come down to the middle of the Bollinger. So between here and here, somewhere here and here. And when it gets here, if it fails, then of course you'll be coming all the way down here to maybe 6.5. But 6.5 to maybe here, 6.4, and you're going to go again. It's going to go again. So this is not a dead move. There's a lot of energy in it, and until it breaks this middle of the band, there is still more upside on it, I see. And actually the monthly is very strong as well. So SPX looking good. Summary, SPX, you could get a small pullback, maybe back to the 9. I think on the weekly, on the daily, chances there is a pullback in it. There's a pullback back to the 50, EMA and SMA. And then we see what happens when price gets here. Do we get support? I think it probably goes slightly lower first, maybe, we're up to here, or even the middle of the KC channel, Bollinger Band, and then it will try to go back up again. But if it breaks the middle, this middle breaks, or this support here breaks, then of course it will be coming down all the way back to the 200 here. So watch for, I would say long term, there's still more in it. It's not done. Um, but short term, you may get a bit of a pullback to come and close this gap here, because there's a gap here which needs to be closed. So, don't be surprised if we collapse down, close this gap, create a divergence, and then off we go back up again. So just a bit of a caution on the buys. That's the only thing I see on this daily chart. I mean, the RSI, let's see what the RSIs are. See, let's make it bigger. See if it's telling us. I mean, we went oversold, so we've gone oversold. So, maybe like I'm saying, this thing is crinching up. It'll cringe up. We've gone oversold there. Not so much on this one yet. But the weekly looks weak bounce, but there's also a gap that has to be closed as well between here and here, which hasn't been closed. I think is it on the 4 hours. Let's see if we can see it on the 4 hours. There's a gap. The gap closed? Not really. Not properly closed. So I think this thing will, we could get a pullback. Like I said, we could get a pullback and, and continue inching up. This is kind of like the wall of worry. Everybody gets worried and it keeps inching up and inching up and inching up. Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable taking a short until we are convincingly on the weekly chart below the middle of the band. At the point we are riding the 50 and the 21. And until we break that, yeah, I wouldn't rush taking a short. The best perfect time to have taken the short was when obviously you broke the middle, right? And you take your short, you do really well. So this could keep inching up. Like I said, it could keep inching up and up and up and up. There are some divergences here that we see, but the monthly is still positive, the weekly is still positive. So until it breaks key moving averages, I wouldn't want to go anywhere near short. So I think the tape I've got is Netflix. So you can see here on Netflix, we are oversold on the weekly chart. MACDs are positive. And so starting to buy from here won't be a bad idea. It's not the bottom. I think it probably will come all the way down to 75 or slightly below, maybe to 70, where my line is. But this here will have a bounce to the upside likely. Very likely it will bounce back to the upside first before it comes down again to create a lower, and then you get your divergence where the RSI moves up. So there is an opportunity, there is a trade here. And if I just put my indicator on, put that indicator on, and you see that we do have a buy on my indicator, right? So, and normally you make money off this indicator if you buy off this indicator. So, with the bounces, and it like here, you can see if you started buying from there, you would have bought at 38 and it took you all the way down to what, 17, which is about half price, but you still made money if you look at it from a long-term perspective. So this is obviously a sport accumulation type. So if you want to buy shares of Netflix, starting from here, it's not a bad idea at all. A little bit of a poke here. But if you're a trader, then of course, you take this trade, you put your stop loss right beneath here, and your take profit will be around $100. Yeah, 99, $100. You close the trade and you see whether it breaks above the 50. If it breaks above the 50 confirmed, then you join the trade again. So that's a trade tip from the trading bee, printing bee on Netflix. But for sport accumulation, yeah, beginning to accumulate from here. It's not a bad idea. And with these setups, you tend to make money on them. So that's all I've got on the equities and shares. And I wish you all the best and God bless.